Anything said on Hillbilly Broadcast should be taken only as opinion. Also, the views and opinions expressed by guests of the program that we interview do not necessarily reflect the views of the hosts of Hillbilly Broadcasts or its advertisers.
Please remain calm. There is no need for alarm. This space is now being taken over by Hillbilly Broadcast.
What's going on, guys? Man, it's been a while since I heard that theme song. So, yes, we're still all alive over here. Ain't planning on going nowhere, but we've had, it's obvious we've been off for a little bit of time. I was thinking about what to say when I came on here. I've got a little boy in a diaper also walking into the studio here, planning on wreaking havoc, which he loves to do when Dad's in here trying to do anything. As far as the reason that we haven't been around, there's a couple different things that I could talk about. Some of them will probably need to wait for a later date to go into too much detail. But actually, I think it's best described by saying that there's maybe been a pile of things that have came up. You know, some things that, and just after a while, you kind of get your plate a little too full, and next thing you know, you got to dial back just a bit. Like I said, we'll probably go into greater detail about things at some point, but I will say this. I figured out what anxiety was. That's a new one. Just to be completely open and honest with you, when I used to hear that somebody was having anxiety problems, I thought, well, sounds like to me they just need to get their crap together. And then, back about December, I began to get hit full in the face with something that was causing me to go to the hospital a couple times. You know, like, man, I'm having a heart attack. And lo and behold, come to find out, doctor's like, yeah, you got anxiety. I'm like, what? I have what? Rednecks from West Virginia. That doesn't fit our stereotype. We can't have this. But nevertheless, I had a small bout with that, and that was, my Lord, that was something else. That was quite interesting. Needless to say, I'm much more sympathetic now when somebody says that they're suffering with anxiety. I'm like, get you, dude. Been there. Know what that's like. If you hear a bunch of thumping around, it's my little boy trying to climb up in my office chair. There, he's mad because he's not tall enough. Yep, he's there. Yeah, that was very interesting. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that the podcast caused that. I'm not saying that at all. Because I don't think it was one sole thing that brought that into existence. But I do know that there are times that on this show, we have gotten very dark. Talked about a lot of dark things. And rightfully so. There's a lot of dark things to talk about. But I think I have the tendency to make the mistake of just going all in to where something becomes almost my entire existence, and I let it consume me to the point where it's all I think about. And when the only thing that you're thinking about is dark stuff, I think I learned the hard way that it can contribute to you winding up in not a very good place mentally. Well, we got more chaos back here. Thank you, little boy. I'll take that. He's carrying around my water bottle for some reason. He's going to give it to me and demand I place it somewhere. Thank you, sir. I'll put that right there. So, again, I'm not saying that the podcast caused that, but I think that there are things that definitely contribute. Things kind of pile up. And I learned that a person has to be careful, and you got to take time for yourself. I had to learn not to push it too hard, that I can't burn the candle at both ends. There was multiple days a week that I would be up until sometimes 2 a.m. And then, of course, would get up to go to work in the morning and do that 3 and sometimes 4 days a week and think that I had the world by the tail when in fact I did not. So I kind of learned that you got to listen to your body, listen to the signs, to the things it's trying to tell you, and otherwise, if it can't get your attention the easy way, it'll get your attention the hard way. So, uh, it's actually kind of funny in retrospect, looking back, sitting there and being like, "Oh Lord, I'm having a heart attack." God, just it's crazy after the fact what you realize that your mind is doing to you. When you think about it afterwards, it's like you were worked up over that, and it was no big deal. And whatever random thought that it was that might cause you to get worked up. Anyways, so that's definitely been part of it. I think. I'm not gonna lie. We also got some. There was a lot of feedback on Sarah Teeter's episode. Apparently, a lot of people were not satisfied with things that Sarah had said, and by people, I'm of course referring to those that are CHM friendly. That's fine. That's fine. But if it's somebody's story and they're telling what happened to them, we can't just make what happened to somebody go away. You can always say, "Well, she's lying." Okay, well, I guess there's always that chance. There's always that chance that somebody's lying to you. You just got to weigh the facts and weigh the situation that you're in and think, is this person reliable? And to be completely honest with you, in my opinion, I have no reason to think that Sarah Teeter was lying to me. You may not like some of the things she said, but Sarah Teeter is a success story. Sarah Teeter's faith is intact. And that's kind of how I gauge. I know there are some listening that probably wouldn't agree with this, but that's kind of how I gauge a success story. If somebody can be pointed to the true God of the Bible, then I consider that a success. And really, the reason that I consider that a success story, and that's my criteria for it, is that I believe in a God, and I believe in the God of the New Testament, the Old Testament as well. And so I believe that that's the path to eternal life. And so therefore, if someone can achieve that by being a believer in and follower of Christ, then I consider that a success. So that's kind of my criteria. Now, that does not mean that I think that if somebody chooses to not be a believer, that they are somehow dumb or stupid or not morally a good individual. I think that somebody can be just fine. I think that there's probably a lot of atheists in this world that are just fine, that are decent people, that I would have no trouble associating with, and are trustworthy individuals. But when you have a belief system, that's kind of ultimately where I tend to land is, okay, I want everybody to have options after this life. And if I believe that Christ is that option, then I'm obviously going to try to convince people to sign up on that side of the aisle. Now, as far as the future of the show, I have no plans of stopping anytime soon. Because here's the way I look at things. The CHM, I really believe, is full of a lot of good people. In fact, I would say that number of people with good intentions and that are good people is probably north of 75%. Probably closer to 90. That's just my estimation. This is my opinion. Now, what I believe about the actual system of the CHM, though, is that system is corrupt and wrong. I don't believe in sinless perfection and that Christians never sin. And I think that believing in that sets up a believer for constant disappointment and discouragement, and in far too many cases, ultimate dismay and the release of any kind of faith tradition. And I believe that is the ultimate failure. So, even though I think that there are many good people in the CHM, I do know and have known good people in the CHM. So even though I believe that, I think that the system itself, the theology, and what they tell you to believe is ultimately wrong. And it doesn't set up someone for success in their Christian life. And I've witnessed that different times down through the years. So if I see a system that I think is doing harm, and I have the ability to speak out against it, doesn't that give me a moral obligation to continue to talk? If I think that something is unwise for someone to follow, am I not obligated to warn them about it? Now, here's the thing, I could be wrong. And ultimately, what we're debating and talking about here on the podcast is, religious opinions and stuff like that. And I very well could be wrong. I don't think I am. It's taken a lot of research for me to get to this point. A lot of research, a lot of Bible study, and that's why I believe the things that I believe. So I don't think I'm wrong, but I could be. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I have everything figured out. I definitely don't. In fact, there's different times in my walk with God that I still feel like I stumble and fall and sin. I'll just say it, sin. And a lot of things I just don't know what to do about and how to handle and, ultimately even to find fulfillment. Because if you're a believer, one of the things that we're left with is the Great Commission, right? To spread the gospel and to convert people to Christianity. And man, I suck at that. My Lord, I suck at that. I suck at it so bad I went and got a tattoo on my left arm. The only tattoo I have for the time being. And it's essentially a pictogram of the plan of salvation. And the reason I got that was because it's not a set of symbols that is widely known. And so I get asked about the tattoo and like, what does that mean? Which then opens me up to be able to share the gospel with someone, because I am terrible at just bringing it up organically, which is not good. I put it on my left arm because I do a lot of guitar playing and play out a lot of places, and so it's prominently visible while I'm doing a live gig. I do get a lot of questions about it. Yeah, anyways, and ultimately, I mean, obviously it's just me tonight. I kind of just wanted to give you all a little bit of an update, let you know we're still here, still working. We've actually got one show absolutely lined up as far as an interview. We're going to have Naomi from a group called Be Emboldened. She's planning on doing an interview with us, and she runs a counseling service for people that come out of like high control church groups. So the CHM fits into that category a lot of times. So we have that. Been talking with Natalie as well at Bree and Holiness, which you guys know that I think she's doing a fantastic work. She's really knocking it out of the park over there, and faces all kinds of opposition. Oh my Lord, all kinds of it. But I really just want to let you know we're still here. We still have things planned, and hopefully at some point you can see us return to kind of a normal schedule. Now, there are times that sometimes once a week can be hard to get a podcast out once a week. Man, I've noticed since I got this kid, my Lord, I was never a good time manager, and now there is very little time to manage. But of course, I'm not telling most of you, those of you that have kids, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. So I don't know if we'll go back to once a week, or maybe we'll try to do twice a month or something like that. And there are some days I just get a wild hair and want to record something. We do have some things to cover. Of course, there was CHM Holy Week IHC that just happened. And it was fairly quiet, I think, other than maybe a few instances. And I want to know who I have to get in contact with to get a painting unveiled of me, by the way. So if you know, please pass that information along. We do have some clips from back. There was a Preacher Lake convention at a church there in Indiana. I think it's Calvary Wesleyan, I think. Hope I'm getting that right. We have some clips from that we'd like to go over. And, of course, I always love doing interviews with those of you that have come out of the CHM. If any of you would be interested in that, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. That's probably my favorite type of podcast to do. But yeah, we're all still here. Kane and Mariah over there in Indiana, where they're at, they're still hanging in there. Everybody's all right because of a few different events. We've had to scale it back just a little bit and kind of gather a game plan and get ready to push forward with this thing. So I just want to let you all know I love you all. Thank you very much for listening. You guys have, man, our last episode with Sarah, you guys knocked the numbers were just completely out of this world of those of you that tune in and listen. So you'll never know how much that means to me. Whenever you sit down and you have a creative drive anyways, and whenever you're able to put something together that tons of people tune in and listen to, that is very flattering. And I cannot thank you enough for listening. And then obviously you've been spreading it word of mouth and things like that. So a very big heartfelt thank you from myself for you guys doing that. Very flattering. And you know how to stroke somebody's ego. Put it that way. But that's about all I got for this evening. I love y'all and expect to see more of us in the future. Anything said on Hillbilly Broadcast should be taken only as opinion. Also, the views and opinions expressed by guests of the program that we interview do not necessarily reflect the views of the hosts of Hillbilly Broadcast or its advertisers.